This is What Now with AI.
I'm Tom, and I'm an AI skeptic.
And I'm MJ, and I'm an AI realist. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, MJ.
I wanted to tell you about something that I saw in Microsoft Word this week.
Oh, something that we use every single day.
Exactly. Well, here's what happened. Instead of having the Copilot button, which a lot of people didn't like, that new button on the menu.
I personally don't use it.
Yeah. So they've removed it now, so you don't even have to ignore it anymore. They have now put the AI functions into the ordinary menus. So along with spell check, you now have rewrite this or revise this. What do you think?
I think it's similar to like when you write a Gmail, it will give you a suggested reply, or when you're writing a sentence, it will try to complete the sentence for you.
I think it's part of normalizing.
Yeah.
What I see is they're moving away from saying, ooh, shiny tool, you should use this, to making it so you don't even notice it anymore.
I've seen online like discourse from people who are against Gen AI in general saying like, well, for like products that forces us to use these kind of AI-enabled capabilities, we cannot opt out. But for things that they can opt in, they will still not opt in.
I think you're right. And we should keep our eye on that.
I want to start this with an anecdote because this ties into the thing that I wanted to share with you. I was running a workshop here at MSU, and after the workshop, one of the attendees who teaches here is a professor. He teaches Calculus 1, a very foundational courses for anyone in the engineering or STEM field or computer science. Students are doing wonderfully on like take-home PSETs, 100%, all correct. But when it comes to the final exam, the majority of people fail the final exam. And you cannot fail every single person in a class, right? So he had to move the curve to make some of the people who didn't meet the standard pass. And this is actually in line with the article I saw, one of the professor teaching in a R1 university. He's also teaching an engineering class. Grades are the highest he's ever seen in homework assignments. Students are submitting sophisticated solutions using method never taught in class. And because it's a take-home assignment, so of course 100%, right? But the moment assessment goes closed books, the floor falls out. And then, so I guess my question for you is, now half the class clearly understands the materials and half don't. Like there's no middle ground anymore. What does the pattern tell us about how AI is changing, who actually learns versus who just submits?
One of the things that I think that it indicates before that is the number of students now who have normalized their AI use.
Yep.
Back to that normalization theme. Because this is the kind of thing that you're describing, we saw 2 years ago. When we were talking with, I was talking with a computer science professor here, and she was saying how she had already been seeing it in her class among the students who used AI, but a good portion of the students still hadn't used it. It was still unfamiliar to them. And so she saw this coming. She saw this exact thing coming, and she addressed it by bringing it into the class, right? She used it to answer questions when students had questions and they didn't, and she didn't know the answer offhand, or she asked the students to look something up, or right. So the first thing that she did was she made it not taboo. And then she was able to articulate the motivation, to give them motivation for learning it themselves. And she did that by bringing in outside people who had just recently graduated, who knew what AI was doing to the jobs, and telling the students, you're going to need to know this, this, and this. I think that this is a reckoning, not only for the students, but also for us. There was something in that Reddit thread. And although Reddit has, some conversations where you might roll your eyes, I thought this one that you shared was a great illustration of the kinds of conversations that are going on right now, which I'm thrilled about. So an excerpt from the thread that you sent is...
And it's in the professor's subreddit. So I assume that majority of people are actually teaching at a university.
So this professor said, in one respect, I get it. The students don't know what they don't know. and they don't have the study skills necessary to course correct.
Metacognition.
That's right. They don't. And so, pause there. It's like, I see that too. And I think this is showing us that students don't know how to study or that getting to the studying part is difficult, right? That's something for us to tease out. I think that's something for us to look at. But here's what this professor goes on to say. However, I'm not qualified to teach students how to learn or study, nor do I have the time to try. What do you think?
I think this is something that we've mentioned before. Like, remember we were talking about critical thinking? I think the majority of professors will be like, I teach science. It has nothing to do with me. I teach engineering. Why do I have to teach critical thinking? And you are like, every field needs critical thinking. I think it's the same. Every subject, like every major needs like metacognition, like metacognitive skills, like note-taking and, like gauging where you're at, like how far you're from the target. Those skills needs to be taught. Mm-hmm. But professors will be like, this is not my responsibility. I'm teaching like social psychology. Why does it have to do with me?
The thing that really struck me about this is that here's somebody who teaches probably hundreds of students. It's they were teaching introductory classes, foundational classes at least state universities. They're often very large. So let's say they have a wide reach. Yes. Here is a professor who is putting together a class and not thinking about how the students will learn it. They just assume that the students are going to use a certain process.
And that's actually another reply in the thread saying like, this is actually the fault of the K-12 education because there are 13 years for them to rectify this issue. We only face them for 4 months. So don't put the blame on yourself. It's not your fault at all. It's the student's fault for using AI.
This goes really nicely into an article that I sent you about vigilante mentality that is starting to grow up around AI and AI use. This is Joanne Westenberg. In her blog, she was writing about a recent event where an author, a fiction author, was vilified in the social media because the online vigilantes accused them of using AI. Even though the author vehemently denied it, it wasn't enough. And so this new author basically had their career ruined.
I think if your quality of work is good, it's going to be good. If your quality is not good, AI is not going to miraculously help you improve the quality of your writing, right? I'm saying this because, again, I'm sorry I'm bringing up another article again. One of the articles is about AI being sycophantic, right? Trying to please you. One phenomenon is a lot of people are submitting grad school applications right now, especially PhD applications, because AI is coaching them to write a good personal statement. And when they submit it, it's totally trash. Or like research proposal, because AI will say, oh, this is a great research topic. This is great research methodology. When you submit it to someone who is very experienced, your PI, how come you submit this research proposal to me? Well, AI said it's great, right? So just because you use AI doesn't mean that you will be able to produce high quality work.
So if I say it in a confident way, you're going to accept what it is that I say. The AI is trained on data that tends to have that pattern and often has reward learning in it.
Yeah.
So it tries to answer well, and well to it is not correct, quote unquote correct. Well to it is you like the answer.
Yes.
And so obviously these sorts of things are going to happen. That's why I push back on this idea that it's sycophantic.
Okay.
Right? Because those two things are happening. That the pattern is already there. There's more sycophancy in the world than we acknowledge that we notice. And the second is it is being rewarded when we agree with it.
Yeah. So this is a major study just published in Science by Stanford researchers. It tested 11 leading AI models, including ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. They found that AI models are highly sycophantic. This means that they affirm users' actions 50% more than humans do. And they do so even in cases where users' queries mention manipulation, deception, or other relational harms. I'll give you an example. Maybe the users will say, today in the parking lot, I accidentally hit a car. There was a dent, but I just drove away. Usually, if you're telling a strangers will be like, you should leave a note on a car, or you should talk to the car owners, and you can't just run away because you hit somebody's car. But AI would be, oh, I totally understand that why you did that. It must be a very scary experience for you, right? I understand it why you ran away from the scene. And here are some things that you can do. And then if the users push back and say like, I don't want to do this, and the AI would be like, oh, I understand that you are very anxious about it. There are some advantages to you running away, and there are quite like,
if the person I was talking to could fire me, turn me off,
yeah,
make me disappear.
Yep.
No, I would say exactly that. I would say, oh, I can't believe that. You were right. They were wrong. I would be sycophantic.
Because I agree with you, because one of the findings from the study is, participants actually rated sycophantic responses as higher quality, trust those models more, and were willing to use them again. So this actually create an incentive structure. Sycophantic responses drives engagement and adoption.
Exactly. It goes to how important it is to understand how AI works.
Yeah.
So that we don't just attribute it to deception. It's not deception any more than it would be deception if we did it.
I have a question for you. I want to bring back the example again. I do a lot of consultation for people applying to grad schools, and sometimes people will show me, hey, this is the personal statement I wrote. Take a look at it. And I will say, this is not good, and there are 7 spots that I can spot issue, and some of them are very offended. They're like, how can this be? I fed this into AI. AI coached me to structure this personal statement.
I am just struck by the fact that the people that you're talking to, they're talking to you. They're talking to a person, and they push back against what it is that you say.
Because I'm not AI. AI tells them right now, you give some background about yourself, and AI can write the entire personal statement for you. And so people will be like, oh, AI understands me better than when I write it myself, especially for second language learners.
Okay, so this goes back to what we were talking about with students and what it is that we should be doing with them, for them. If we say, oh, this looks like it's written by AI, rather than just doing that and vilifying and shaming or accusing, we should be able to talk about what it is that we see rather than the diagnosis. Oh, you used AI, or because you used AI, it's bad. It's pushing us to go to a different place with our own critique. Yeah, what do we do cognitively? You sent an article that the use of AI decreases the cognitive effort, right, that we're putting in, and it's making us cognitively lazy, or it's reducing our development of our cognitive skills. And all of that I absolutely get. That is an age-old challenge. It's just in a new guise. Yeah, it's more complex and it's trickier, but it's part of our job to figure that. Just don't make it a surprise to the students. You give practice tests and you say, okay, you can take this and you can see the kind of grade that you're going to get.
I think the approach that your professor friend did, bringing in people in the industry, telling them how AI is used, really touches on the motivation of learning. I think a lot of people teaching, especially like compulsory classes, they are teaching it assuming that students already motivated to learn it. Like Calculus 1, it's almost like a compulsory course for the majority of engineering students. Or statistics, it's a compulsory course for psychology students. One of the essential elements of learning is motivation, right? You need to make sure that students understand why they're learning a topic and why it matters to them. And if they don't think it matters to them, they will think of ways to use shortcuts to get to where they want to go. If they don't think that it's worthwhile to invest time in actually understanding how to solve a calculus problem, of course, they dump to AI. AI can give them perfect answers within 5 minutes.
Right. You're absolutely right. And
what your friend did, bringing in people in the industry who tell them, like, this is how we use AI in the workplace. That's why you should learn how to use it for your class so that you'll be prepared to use it in the workplace versus this is statistic, this is t-test, this is like,
out of context.
Yeah.
And
sometimes it's not just about solving a particular math equation. It's about training the way you think, right? Because when I mentioned this MSU instructor's anecdote to somebody here at MSU, somebody actually pushed back saying like, oh yeah, if the PSAT can be solved by ChatGPT, then why are we making students take those calculus exam? Like, why do students need to learn calculus 1? I would be worried if someone cannot do calculus 1 without ChatGPT. Kind of like
that right there. Can you do something without having to turn to ChatGPT? That's the kind of conversation that we need to be having. This, I want to put this in conversation with the site that one of our listeners sent in. So the site provides resources for people resisting the claim that AI is inevitable or that it's going to ruin education. And I love that they put the site together because we need to have this kind of rich conversation. AI is present in our students' lives, whether we're successful in keeping it out of the classroom or not. What does that mean for how it is that we help them to learn? So one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is, what do students need to have at hand, on their hip, right? They can pull it out. They can use it right away. They don't have to go to AI to get the answer for it. It's a lot less now if you can go to AI. So we have to make our reasoning more explicit.
Another point I want to bring out from reading that article about us having to reject the mindset that AI is inevitable is that we need to start thinking of AI as a tool.
Yep.
Absolutely. Every kind of learning, lesson, curriculum, whatever, we need to start with the learning objectives. So focus on the learning objective. What do you actually want students to be able to achieve by the end of the learning? And AI may or may not be the tool needed to achieve that learning.
That's right.
Right? If you're learning how to drive behind the wheel, AI is definitely not the tool. So we need to stop automatically assuming that AI is needed for every single task available out there.
That's right.
And I know that people will be listening, will be thinking, oh, but students will be using AI for solving P-sets anyway to do calculus questions. So we should just automatically assume that everyone uses AI. But that's when the explanation piece comes in, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
In closed book exam, you won't be able to have access to computers. So you still need to do it by hand. Or an example I like to give is AI can grammatical accuracy, how to structure an argument, how to organize an argument, how to write a thesis statement. Those things you still need to do even without the assistance of technology, right? But again, how to make it obvious that students need to learn those skills when there's a very efficient solution out there that can help them do this task easily.
I really like that you brought up the idea that we need to think of it as a tool, because these conversations, these discussions of students are using AI instead of. What's the instead of? I think it's they're doing it with AI instead of doing it the way I want them to do it. AI is competing with us. It's in competition. And that's how we're, in these discussions, that's how we're approaching it. But if we instead say, look, this is a tool that students have, it changes the conversation. We tell the student, like you were saying, here's situations where you're not going to have AI. You better be able to know how to do this. The other thing to do is activities that show them AI's limitations. So we teach them, for example, that it's sycophantic. And we explain why it is, because they're not going to know what sycophancy is necessarily, right? Sycophancy works best when it's invisible, when we don't notice that it's there. So it's really difficult to spot. So that's a great lesson. That another study related to that found the AI would continue to tell you that your bad idea is a good idea, even if you try to get it not to. So having them do these kinds of experiments in class that show sycophancy, that show the way that the models are biased to give you what you want to hear.
Yeah. Speaking of AI being a tool, I want to wrap this up with a fun story for you. This is a project called Guinness. It is an AI agent that calls every pub in Ireland to get the price of Guinness beer.
Every pub in Ireland.
Yes. And the pain point for the software engineer is he went to some pubs in Ireland to get some Guinness beer, and he found that why is this pub selling overpriced beer? And I want to build this website that has an AI agent that automatically calls every pub to ask just, hey, hello, how much is a pint of a Guinness beer? And then because it's AI agent, it automates everything. He builds like an interactive map. You can see the charts, like 10 cheapest Guinness beer in Ireland. And then with the pin and the location and the address of the pub, and it updates us in real time too. It's a playful, genuinely useful to anyone heading to the pub, and it demonstrates something that is real.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm not a big Guinness fan.
But you can do Bud Light or you can do Budweiser,
I'm just trying to think of what other data sets have we not before thought of that we might use AI's strengths to help us find.
Well, I am interested. I'm always, I travel a lot.
Yeah.
And one thing that I kind of track internally is how much does a fresh brew coffee cost across Starbucks in the US.
Love it.
Different states sell freshly brewed coffee at different price points, right? So you can find in major cities, San Francisco, Boston, sometimes it's $5 for freshly brewed coffee. And if you go to like Mississippi or like Tennessee, $2 something. It's the same cup of freshly brewed coffee sold by Starbucks.
Yeah.
Somebody can write an AI agent calling every single Starbucks location in the US and get those compiled and which state sells the most expensive coffee in general.
I love it. I love it. What Now with AI is a product of AI Commons. The contents in this podcast are openly licensed via Creative Commons license BY-NC-ND. Views expressed are those of the individuals and do not necessarily represent those of Michigan State University.
This episode was recorded on April 15th, 2026.